Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable business intermediaries from across the country. Joining me on this segment is Michael Greene. He's with Sam Goldenberg and Associates and Sunbelt, New Mexico. Michael, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mark. Thank you.
Michael, tell us a little bit about your work and specifically tell us who are the types of clients that you specialize in helping.
Well, Sam Goldenberg and Associates, Mark, has been here since 1983, and working in New Mexico, you pretty much have to be a generalist. I come from California where I did mergers and acquisitions, and there you could be very specialized. In New Mexico, covering the whole state, we pretty much have to work with all kinds of businesses. Our general size we're looking for is somewhere between 500,000 and 5 million, with most of the listings in the $1 to $3 to $4 million range.
Right on. Tell me a little bit about these owners when they're considering selling a business. Are they just as prepared to sell a business as they are growing their businesses?
No, probably not. We have on staff an exit specialist with a large background in corporate America and national consulting. And if a company's not ready, we will work with them for a year, whatever it takes, to get their procedures, processes, books in the best condition we can so that they're more attractive to buyers. Often the sellers are not really in a position to sell. They've just reached a point in life where they'd like to sell.
So tell us a little bit about what's on their mind if they're not totally prepared. How far in advance should they start preparing their business for sale?
Well, that depends, of course, on the business and how well it's run, et cetera. I would say the range is people that are ready and willing to sell now and anxious to sell for many reasons, and to others that might need a year to put themselves in the right position to sell. Mainly, I think when they first reach out to a broker, what they're looking for is to better understand the process, what it's going to be like to sell their business, how confidential can it be kept. This is one of their primary concerns. They often don't want the world to know they're for sale. Having the whole state makes it easier for us to cloak or camouflage a business that's unique. I would say that's the main thing they want to talk about. And I would say that from a business broker standpoint, and things have changed a lot in the last 30 to 35 years, it's gone from a pretty pioneer industry, not well known, not understood, to mainstream brokerage. People really now, business brokers, intermediaries are a large part of the brokerage world. And I would say the true challenge of being an intermediary is that you're working with the buyer and the seller at the same time. And that requires a huge amount of fairness, of openness. What we try to do is get testimonials from buyers and sellers that sound alike, where they both think we were fair with them, transparent, gave them all the information they needed to make their decisions. That's the biggest difference between being a real estate broker, where you work with one side, being a lawyer, what I originally started as, which you work with one side, mergers and acquisitions, which you work with one side. Here you're working with both the buyer and the seller and trying to be fair to both. And I would say that's what makes great business broker intermediaries and average ones, the ability to do that on a consistent basis and have both sides feel that they're getting fair and equal treatment.
I heard a statistic that as much as 50 to 80% of businesses that go on the market end up not selling. Could you kind of give us some insight on what would cause businesses not to sell, where the breakdown is?
I think the breakdown starts at the very beginning, when brokers are too anxious to take a business to market that isn't really saleable, or are too willing to let the seller dictate the terms of that sale. It shouldn't be that way. It's not that way for us. We're very lucky and blessed. We turn down a lot of sellers that are unrealistic or just don't have a business that's going to be attractive. we pretty much sell everything we list. And I think that's how it should be. And one of the reasons that I work all with staff, I'm the only actual broker, because I don't want people working for me that need to get a commission so badly they get themselves involved with a seller that is not realistic and where they're not going to succeed. I come out of commercial real estate as well, and that's always been one of the problems. So we're all staff. I'm the only one on commission and or success fee, as we like to call it. And for that reason, they can be realistic with the sellers as to what they have, what the value is. So I would say it's really intermediaries that are so anxious to list businesses and make sales out of scarcity, threshold marketing, if you like, that they take on businesses that don't sell. There's no reason any business you take on shouldn't sell. They also don't do good enough collateral materials. We spend maybe 2 months, 3 months from the time you say you want us to sell your business to learn everything about your business and put together truly professional collateral materials and what we call a confidential business review, so that when a buyer shows up, he's confident he's getting the real information. If a buyer feels things are being withheld, he's not going to buy that business. So I can't answer your question as to the statistics. I'm aware of it, but I think it's really, if you talk to the better intermediaries, the more successful brokerages like ours, like several others I'm aware of, we sell just about everything we list.
We're coming out of a pandemic just recently now, and people are wondering, is this a good time to sell a business? What's the market been like in your area? What have you seen?
Well, the market has been very, very strong due to the low interest rates and the fact that loans are readily available to buy businesses. And particularly SBA loans have been readily available because the government has encouraged them. And most buyers, in the end, if the business has any size, need and want a loan. No matter how much money people have, they tend not to buy things for cash. They borrow the money. So it's been a great market because the funds have been available at low interest rates, which makes it easier to buy a business for more money since your loan payment is less. That's beginning to change. I think a lot of people are selling right now. There's been a huge exodus of sales because the pandemic has made doing business less pleasant, much less, much harder, not as easy, more frustrating. So people that have been toying about business, Mark, they talked 10 years ago, there was going to be a baby boomer exit and there was going to be thousands of businesses coming on the market. And it didn't happen because baby boomers kept working. They don't quit at 65. Now suddenly, although they're now 75, the pandemic has made this not as attractive to them. So they're selling. Buyers have been anxious to buy because they sense there's an inflationary period coming and everything is going to become more valuable. Right now, I'd say the market is still extremely strong, but concerns are beginning to build like thunderclouds that perhaps people are going to become more cautious about buying as they did in 08 and 09 and times in the past. But right now, I'd say it's a really strong time to sell your business because bank loans are still available. And when they go away, then sellers are forced to finance, which is much less attractive for them.
Really great insight. Michael, what inspired you to become a business intermediary? Like, how did you get started in the field?
I think it's always a movement. So I started in California as an attorney. I morphed into mergers and acquisitions, which were a very big deal back 40 years ago. I came to New Mexico because I wanted to live here. My wife is an artist. I wanted to be in Santa Fe. And being here, I had to get more realistic about what was available. We don't have huge businesses here. I had prudential agencies, which basically work with Fortune 100 companies. So when I came to New Mexico, I joined Sam Goldenberg and Associates because they were a pioneer in the intermediary field and had dominance in all of northern and central New Mexico. And over the years, I've tried to keep up with the times and grow it into truly a statewide company. So I've morphed into this. I think it takes several skills I have. It's good to have some legal background because there's a lot of documentation involved. It's good to understand working with buyers and sellers, clients on both sides. It's good to have the ability to talk clearly with people. So, and you need to know a little bit about an awful lot of businesses, which you only get with time. So, part of what makes good, I think, intermediaries like myself is just having done it for 25 or 30 years, because you've run into every kind of business that's out there. When a person's starting off, like when I hire someone here on staff and they're inexperienced, they have to come to me with every business to sort of understand how that business works, how retirement villages work, independent living, how motorcycle places work, how car dealerships work, how restaurants work. And as time goes by, you develop those skills. It makes you a more successful and valuable intermediary because you understand the seller's business and you understand the kind of buyer that buys that type of business. The same buyer doesn't buy every kind of business. There's a profile for those buyers as well. So I like it because there's a lot of variety in it and it isn't doing the same thing over and over again. And I think it utilizes my skills and my personality. And that's important though. Whatever you do, Mark, I think in life, it should fit your personality. Some personalities fit accountants, some personalities fit salespeople. And this is more sales than accounting. So sometimes someone can have tremendous background in finance and have the personality of an accountant, but it's hard for them to have the kinds of conversations they need to have to make a buyer and seller comfortable in what is one of the biggest decisions of their life. Most sellers, this is probably the biggest asset they have. And most buyers, this is the biggest investment they're ever going to make. So there's a lot of fear on both sides that have to be smoothed and dealt with. And you can't ignore it. You have to dig in with them and begin to have them understand exactly what's going on. I think it's a great thing to be. Uh, I, I've done it so long now. It's a hard, when you ask me that question, I can't remember when I wasn't a business intermediary. So to me, it's a pretty natural thing to be doing in a state like New Mexico and living in a beautiful city like Santa Fe. I'm selling in large part here. I'm selling the lifestyle, the venue, the location that people want to come here. They move here. They want to buy a business. It's different when you work in a big city. You mostly do lateral sales, Mark. If you want to sell a dry cleaner, you call dry cleaning companies, and because they want more market share. So a lot of it is lateral. In a place like New Mexico, it's not. It's people that want to live in New Mexico or live in Southern Colorado, where we also work in Durango. And they want to live here, and therefore they're here. They want to find something interesting to do. Often they've come here with money for a second career. And so it's a little different than Los Angeles, where I started. And I like it better that way. Often it's easier to sell a business here because the people want to be in Taos, they want to be in Santa Fe, they want to be in Albuquerque, they want to be in Las Cruces, and I just have to find the right hole for that peg. And that's what we do, and we're very fortunate to do it well, and have many. And in business brokerage, it's really the referral system that's important, because you don't have a multiple listing like you do in real estate. So you have to attract, and that generally comes from personal referrals from businesses, accountants, lawyers, and it takes time to build that up. And that's why I think the companies that are successful have been at it a while, because they have a strong referral system, and it's hard for a new company to build that system.
Michael, for folks listening who are considering selling their business and they'd love to speak with you, how can they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Well, we have two websites. We have Sam Goldenberg and Associates. That's on samgoldenberg.com. We have sunbelt.com. They can look me up by just Googling online. We show up in the first two or three places. Just say broker Santa Fe, New Mexico. This is broker Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I will pop right up. And you can reach me very easily. We have a large staff that takes the calls, and I'm very available to talk with anybody that thinks they could benefit from that conversation.
This has been terrific. Michael, I really appreciate you stopping by and sharing with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you for having me on.
That was Michael Greene with Sam Goldenberg and Associates and Sunbelt, New Mexico. This segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.